Cooperative verbal communication is the next piece in what we're looking at here. And the big pieces that we're looking at is if we have cooperative verbal communication, then we're going to have information that's going to be understandable. They're going to use I language and we language. And the last section we're going to look at in this piece is just how gender is going to apply as it relates to verbal communication. When we're looking at making an communication understandable, the first idea we want to look at is cooperative principles. And if they're cooperative, then they're gonna be, first of all, informative. You're gonna make sure that you're giving information that is both relevant and appropriate to whoever you're speaking with in that context. Sometimes there's people that give a little too much information. So we talk about TMI, a little bit too much information based on the situation. So if we have good communication competence, we're going to be able to determine what information is going to be appropriate to that situation, how much information that we're giving, and then making sure that the information that we are providing is going to be ethical. We do want to have information and share what is actually, first of all, what you know to be, what you know, and that is true. So we're not going to knowingly give false information or give information that I'm not positive about. And if I'm going to say something that I'm not sure about, then I'm going to say, hey, I'm not clear on this. So you might check this out, but here's a piece of information you might explore further. If the information is relevant, so meaning it actually moves the conversation forward. When people ask you questions, you're going to give them the appropriate answers based on the questions they're asking. You're going to tie your information and responses back to whatever it is that is your conversation. So you're not taking it off to another place, you're moving the conversation along in a meaningful way. Is your communication clear? Is the information presented straightforward? Is it framed in a way that makes sense? Am I using terminology or language that's clear? Sometimes people will intentionally make it not clear, so that's something to be aware of. But I think the other part of this being clear is making sure that we're being kind. There are going to be times and information that you might have to provide that is more difficult. So choosing your word and your language based on the situation or context is a smart thing to do. So choose your words wisely based on your situation. And sometimes misunderstandings happen. It's not always intentional. I mean, misunderstandings happen based on maybe the perception someone's coming from, if they're going to decode the message or encode the message maybe in a way that the other person doesn't understand. And kind of goes back to people's thoughts, beliefs, feelings. If they've got a conversation in their own mind about something, they literally can be misinterpreting excuse me, information. And again, not necessarily intentional. Now this is important, I language, so you want to avoid you language. So let's talk about what that looks like. You pissed me off, or you made me angry when you have those ideas and those things happen, it creates defensiveness in the other person. The truth is that other people can't make you feel anything. Another person can't make you feel angry if you're choosing to allow them to make you feel angry. So I think it helps to put things into the proper context. Is it true? Is that person actually making you angry? Or are you choosing to feel angry? So if we use I language, what it's saying is, I'm taking ownership. These are my feelings and beliefs. And what it does is offers a clearer perception of what's happening. I'm feeling angry because I feel hurt because. So the other person isn't causing you, you're actually taking responsibility and saying, I feel this way, and here's why I feel this way. It doesn't, and if you listen to the difference of, you make me feel so angry because you left the light on in the kitchen, and you're always leaving the light on in the kitchen, and we're wasting energy or wasting electricity, versus I feel angry when you leave the light on in the kitchen. Again, it's just taking responsibility or ownership over our own feelings and emotions. We language. Now, I think this is interesting. When we listen to couples speak, I think you can almost hear the shift in relationship when they start talking about each other as a we. So if you say, would you like to get together on this day? And they refer to themselves as a we. What it suggests is they're a package deal. So they come as a package. They're referring to themselves as a unit rather than referring to themselves as individuals. So if you hear one person in a relationship refer to them as a we, and the other person referring to everything as I and talking about only themselves, you kind of get a sense about maybe where they're at in the relationship, and maybe they're in different places. So language can be really an eye-opening situation if you're paying attention to the way that people are using it. And then if you want to intentionally cause that to happen, then you can use we language between the two of you to suggest a future, we as a unit moving forward, suggesting some connection or future between the two. So it emphasizes inclusion and suggests that the relationship is more cohesive, more connected between the two. Now, there is the idea that in media that women are oftentimes presented as being more polite with more flowery adjectives, and men are more action verbs and action oriented, but the research actually suggests that there are more similarities versus differences, and where the real differences lie actually is whether the communication between two people is more competitive or collaborative. So if we're trying to create more collaborativeness, we're going to be a little bit more careful with our language. We're going to probably be a little bit more polite, where if you're being more competitive, the conversation could be more short and succinct and to the point. So just notice the difference between those two. It's not necessarily about gender, it's more about the context or situation where the communication's happening. Thank you.